Well, first of all, thanks everyone for coming. As someone who's borderline obsessed with national security affairs, you can imagine what a dream it was for me to be able to go to Israel. So I want to thank you all for that. Specifically thank Mr. Hochberg, Mr. Kruger, and Mr. Rothenberg for making that dream come true for me. Thank you very much. Now, because I study international affairs, it's pretty much a given theme that there's a lot of people out there saying that the relationship between the United States and Israel right now has hit a bump. That maybe it's even been severed and it won't go back to the way it once was. That maybe our interests don't lie in having an alliance with Israel, and that's the way the future is going to go. To everyone out there that thinks that the bond between the United States and Israel has been hurt at even the smallest amount, the Israel Experience Program is your rebuttal. What Eagle's Wings has put together is an Ivy League education program that also appeals to people that don't have an advanced knowledge of the Middle East or of Israel. That's an incredibly tough task. In fact, I would say it even goes further than an Ivy League education, because what we saw in Israel and what we learned, we're not going to forget. We don't forget when we close that textbook and then we take a test. Those images are burned into our minds. And that really taught me a lesson about my own writing. You see, I deal a lot with facts and figures. I'm kind of more of an academic, and I would leave out the humanity in my stories and in my writing. Coming back from Israel, I changed that because I went to a place called Sderot. And when I saw the shattered remains of a synagogue, a damaged house that hadn't been rebuilt for 6 months because they couldn't get the money to move the family back in, those are stories I couldn't leave out. And so I wrote an article called No More Sderots. And it went all around the internet. And that's when I realized, because of the Israel experience, I was leaving out a very critical element in what I was writing. And that has appealed to more people than any group of facts or figures that I could have given anyone. I also got a greater appreciation for the isolation that Israelis and even the Jewish community as a whole have felt. How many times they've been betrayed. And how when people come to them and they say, listen, we're your friend, they have to think, yes, but for how long? The Israel experience is rising up a generation that will answer them by saying, forever. Right. We promise you, we will always be by your side. And so I want to thank all of you for your support of the program and for supporting my generation, and I look forward to the future relationship between the United States and Israel.